there's something about it for me that feels kind of linked to acceptance as well. I remember, God, like years, decades spent in impatience. Impatience for things that I wanted to do, places I wanted to go, all of this kind of stuff. I wanted my life to really get going and get to be in a certain way. And I kept getting these lessons of how to be more patient. I kept getting the lesson, you need to be more patient, you need to be more patient. I couldn't find how to exactly do that. And I was thinking, like you were speaking, is it about slowing down? Is it about slowing down my mind? How do I actually get to this place of patience, of letting things unfold and happen when they're meant to happen or when it's the right time to happen, rather than trying to force the issue? And something came down to acceptance. That when I found a way to accept things as they are, so accept people or accept situations or accept whatever it was as it was, something started to feel peaceful. And over time, I can acknowledge that started to feel a little bit like joy. When it found its way to that kind of joy feeling, it became even easier to find the acceptance. So no matter what the situation that came up, or however it might challenge me, it just became easier to find that place of acceptance in it. It just would happen sooner, rather than something being a cause of suffering or torment for weeks and months. It just became something that, how do I find the way to accept this? This is what's happening, or this is what's happened. How do I find how I accept that? How does that become a joyful thing? See, it feels like all the time that we're living off our soul blueprint. So all of our different experiences, so many of those are predestined. They are set up on the path for us. So no matter what we do, we can't avoid those experiences in a way. But where the journey comes in, or where free will comes in, is how we experience that. So when we accept that wherever I am and whatever I'm doing is exactly what I'm meant to be doing right now at this stage in my journey, it just starts to flow a little bit different. When we're able to, it's kind of like if we kind of sit into it a little bit. It starts to become a place where it almost feels like we're not working so hard. When we're in that space of trying to make it not so, or wishing it was different, wishing I had this, or wishing I did this, or whatever it is, that creates a huge amount of suffering. But it's really understandable if the situation that we're in is really painful for us. It's very understandable that we would try and make that not so, or try and wish that was not so. But from our soul point of view, we are given exactly the conditions that we need in order to grow or learn something. So that's how I relate to that description of joy. That when we're on our path, when we're in alignment with whatever we are meant to be doing, whatever we said to ourselves, yeah, I'm going to be there, I'm going to do that, I'm going to practice this, or I'm going to learn that, or I'm going to put that right, that feels joyful. Things tend to work out. Or it's a little bit easier to accept how things work out. When we're trusting, look, I really did my best with that. And if it still isn't working out, it's a little bit easier to live with knowing that I really gave that everything. I really did my best with that. We can walk away without those feelings of guilt or shame or what ifs, or this kind of stuff that we can do. Sometimes without something big provoking us. We don't tend to look. We'll just keep kind of a little bit on autopilot, living life. And we're not consciously doing this, but we're sort of passively waiting for something external to happen. Somebody to say something, or somebody else to do something, or something to happen before we take action. Before we kind of step into the driving seat of, right, God, I need to do something here. And it's so easy to get caught on that kind of merry-go-round of life. True? You know, just work life, then weekends, back to work, weekends. You know, it's so easy to just live life in that way. But the other side of it is, unless we're doing that very mindfully or consciously, we can just be ticking off days. So even if we don't change anything about our job or where we live or any of those things, when we start doing it more consciously, more joyfully, the experience of it changes. Or at least that's how it feels for me. When I started meditation, I was still doing the same job, I was still doing the same work. But something changed in how I experienced that. Something changed in what I was able to bring to it. And it changed the whole experience. Suddenly it was much quieter in my mind. So I could really hear people. Whereas previously, I was listening to people, but at the same time there was chatter in my mind that was thinking about, what's going on here, or how to explore this, or what to offer. Yeah? Stepping into that lovely, quieter space, the whole experience became deeper. But the same has happened for loads of things. So whether it's food, whether it's any connections with people. It's so easy to live life not realizing that we're living it on the surface. Our media and everything that we're sold in society, what we're looking at is the surface of people. So it's very easy to believe or feel that that's normal. We can so easily believe that what people show us, whether it's Facebook posts or Instagram photos or whatever on the outside, is how things are. It's like you were speaking earlier, yeah? And one of the privileges of this work is, you get to go a little bit below the surface. You get to have more of a sense of what's happening for people, yeah? Because they share it, they're coming to talk about it. But yet, I had done psychotherapy work for maybe 5 or 6 years before I started doing meditation. I'm not saying that I was a bad therapist back then, but my experience of it now is totally different. Because my journey into myself is different, so what's available to meet somebody is different. So for me, there's something really powerful that happens when we start to go beyond the surface of ourselves, first of all. When we start to question the surface level.